Hi, I'm Wagieda Suliman, Head of Market Insights for Sanlam Employee Benefits. So I'm responsible for the Sanlam Benchmark survey, which is conducted on an annual basis, and most of the results are then presented at our Sanlam Symposium. What is the Sanlam Benchmark? The Sanlam Benchmark is a collective of surveys that we have been conducting since the early 1980s. And we conduct research amongst participating employers in umbrella funds, standalone retirement funds, and in the last 10 years or so, we've expanded it to include members of retirement funds as well as retirees of employer-sponsored retirement funds.
So what was Benchmark 2018 about?
Benchmark 2018 for us was very interesting. So over the years, we've always tested, the regulatory impact on fund officers such as principal officers and also employer representatives in participating employers. What stood out for us this year was obviously the regulatory impact and how retirement funds are preparing for, specifically this year, for the default regulation, which is going to come into effect 1 March 2019. And there's a lot of stuff that funds obviously have to have in place. But the thing that is interesting for the South African market is the impact of millennials. So millennials are people, youngsters, professionals that have been born since 2000s. What's fascinating for us is how the impact that millennials are having on the working environment in corporate South Africa, their needs and requirements from a retirement funding perspective, the digital impact that has on their lives and their expectations of current employers and future employers, and also how they are preparing for retirement funding.
So what was the most interesting find in the research survey?
So the most interesting finding in the research survey for me personally was the fact that millennials are not necessarily disengaged. What stood out is the fact that the industry hasn't moved along at the pace in which they have from a digital perspective. We can no longer use the assumptions that was made in the early 1960s or 1956, when the Pension Fund Act was promulgated. We need to have moved on because they're changing the working environment. They're coming into corporate South Africa expecting everything to be digital, expecting decisions to be made quicker, and also that the products that we have available should definitely meet their needs. And there seem to be some myths, particularly around in the way we're communicating, how you prepare for retirement and what you need to have in place. So this in itself, I believe, is going to shape the industry going forward.
Who was the intended target market for Benchmark?
So I kind of addressed that earlier. So the intended target market from a research perspective, obviously, industry-wide, it is participating employers. So it's typically your financial director, your human resources director, personnel manager. And then from a fund perspective, it's the principal officer of retirement fund and or trustees who's available to participate in the interviews. And then, as I've said, we've expanded the research to include members of retirement funds. So those are current active members that are currently contributing to retirement funds. And then we haven't tested it in the last 2 years, but in the past we have tested the views and the findings, and I think more importantly, the experience of retired people.